Hi everyone, I thought I'm gonna make a quick and probably pointless comparison of my guitars, eventually to decide which one is the one that I'm gonna keep. Starting with the Epiphone Les Paul Studio. This one's from 2001, made in Korea at the famous Samik factory. From what I've read online, these were some of the best quality Epiphones back then, and honestly, after owning this one, I totally get it. The build quality is just solid, feels great in the hands, and it gives off the premium vibe like a way more expensive guitar. When I first got it, it was kinda rough, dirty, scratchy pots, and the 13th fret on the high E string was messed up and needed fixing. But after giving it some proper TLC, hydrating the fingerboard, polishing the frets, and spraying some contact cleaner on the pots, it's now in way better shape. Plays great, though not as effortlessly as the next guitar, but the sound is fantastic. Actually sounds like a real Les Paul. Specs wise, it's got a mahogany body with a carved top, a mahogany set neck with a rosewood fingerboard. The neck is lacquered, which isn't really my thing, but honestly, it's not bad. It feels nice to play. It's also got vintage Kluson style tuners and Alnico classic humbuckers. Next up, the Donner DL124B, probably one of the cheapest Les Paul style guitars you'll find on Amazon. I got it because I wanted to see how a super budget Les Paul style guitar would feel, and the roasted maple neck caught my eye. I didn't expect much when I bought it, but somehow it ended up being one of the best in my collection. The out-of-the-box setup was basically perfect, and it's by far the easiest to play. My first impression, it felt kinda cheap, especially next to the Epiphone or later the Harley Benton. Sound-wise, at first I wasn't really into it, but after playing it for a while and messing with different settings, I started to really like the sound. These ceramic humbuckers have a ton of dynamic range, and that roasted maple neck just feels amazing to play. For a budget guitar, the specs are actually impressive. Solid basswood body, roasted Canadian maple neck, modern C-shaped profile, laurel wood fretboard, and Donner's so-called signature humbuckers. So I actually ended up buying another one of these Donners, but in a different color. Mostly because it was even cheaper, and I was curious if it would be as good as the first one. Plus, I kept seeing reviews hyping up the color. Funny thing, when I saw it online, I wasn't a fan of how it looked, but in person, totally different story. The veneer top is stunning, probably you can see it on the close-up shots. It's got the same roasted maple neck, but overall the quality is definitely worse than the black one. The frets are sharp and the setup out of the box was kinda rough. This basically confirmed for me that with budget brands, quality control can be all over the place. You might get a great one, or you might get something like this. I lucked out with the black one, but this one, not so much. Now onto the Harley Benton SC 550. I bought this one after reading tons of rave reviews and watching a bunch of YouTube videos where literally everyone was hyping it up as the best guitar for the price. Technically, it's still a budget guitar, but it's kinda at the top of that lower budget range. After hearing so many good things, my expectations were sky high, and when it arrived, wow, this thing looked stunning. Hands down the best looking guitar I own. Felt super premium, and when I plugged it into my amp, it sounded like legit Les Paul. The only downside, it's not the easiest to play, at least for me. The frets are really tall, and it came with the thickest strings out of all my guitars. Also, compared to the others, this one was definitely on the pricey side. Spec-wise, it's got a chambered Meranti body with a AAA flamed arched maple top, a glued-in Meranti neck, and a Palfero fingerboard. It also has a graphite nut, stainless steel frets, and Tesla pickups. Similar to the Epiphone, it's got vintage Kluson style tuners. Next, we've got the Jet JS400. I grabbed this one after seeing a ton of YouTube reviews calling it the best budget Strat style guitar. And let me tell you, my experience with this one was a roller coaster. When it first showed up, I was kinda let down. The volume and tone knobs looked cheap, the setup wasn't great, and for whatever reason, I just didn't like how it played. And fun fact, this is the only guitar I own that actually managed to cut my finger with the highest string. Rude. But after spending more time with it, tweaking the setup and playing around with it, it really started to grow on me. I actually started enjoying the sound of the ceramic pickups. And at some point I realized I just couldn't put it down. The roasted maple neck feels so good, with nicely rolled edges and smooth frets. It probably doesn't sound as good as a Squier classic vibe, but for the price it's seriously impressive. Also, for a Strat style guitar, I think it looks really nice. Spec wise, it's got a basswood body, a modern C-shaped roasted Canadian maple neck and fingerboard, 9.5-inch radius, a bone nut, 2-point vintage style tremolo and HSS ceramic pickups. Last but not least, the Squier Affinity Strat. I got this one used as a project guitar for ridiculously cheap. After my initial disappointment with the Jet GS 400, I figured why not, but wow. When I first got it, it was disgusting. It looked and felt nasty. This poor thing had been seriously neglected. But I could tell that at some point someone really loved it. The tone knobs weren't working, the volume pot was super scratchy, and the neck was so sticky that it was basically unplayable. It desperately needed a deep clean. But after a thorough restoration process by myself, the difference was night and day. I even went the extra mile and bought a Squier Classic Vibe 50s loaded pickguard, swapped out the pickups and electronics, and now it sounds amazing. The feel and playability are way better than when I first got it, thanks to the well-worn neck and frets. Also, the body has this really nice resonance, which gives it a super satisfying response, especially when playing in a sitting position, which is how I usually play. Spec-wise, it's got the elder body, which is the slightly bit thinner 40mm in thickness, satin maple neck and rosewood fingerboard, and it's got a large 70s headstock. I've made some measurements just for comparison. I'm gonna put these here. Now let's hear what you're all here for, the sound comparisons. Here we go. So after all this testing and experience with the guitars for a few weeks, these are my scores. And the winner is, ta-da, the Donner DL124B. At least for me. Let me know what you think, guys, and see you next time. Bye.